Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Um, yeah, welcome to this session of Queering Education. So glad to be here. And we have three amazing panelists here to discuss transforming wellness. If they would like to introduce whenever they're ready.
That sounds good. I'll go first if that's fine. Hey, everybody. My name is Rocky Lane. I am a licensed massage therapist and a personal trainer. I teach group fitness classes that are focused on strength most weeks. And I'm also one of the facilitators of a wonderful workshop called Transforming Wellness with my other two lovely humans facilitators here, my other favorite healers in the world. I'm also a proud Black trans man and the board chair for Transgender Education Network of Texas, which is the statewide trans-led, trans-focused legislative educational organization. So I wanted to maybe point to, I'm gonna throw it off to somebody. I'm gonna throw it off to Kyra next.
Hey, thank you, Rocky. Kyra, pronouns are she and they. I've been a massage therapist for 10 years, been doing various forms of body work for 13 years. I've been a new yoga teacher, so that's been a fun adventure. But I am also a co-conspirator for Transforming Wellness. It's a lot of fun. Get to tell people how to be nice to trans people, make stuff accessible. Yeah. Kelly Turn.
Hi, my name is Kelly Marshall. I have been a massage therapist here in town for about 13 years and a yoga teacher and a yoga therapist for about, I guess, 6 or 7, primarily focusing on working with the trans and gender non-conforming community. And together with Kyra, like we both kind of came up with the idea of transforming wellness and have just expanded from there. And it's been just an amazing experience to co-create this offering and to talk to you guys about trans and gender nonconforming health and wellness. So that's me.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for introducing yourselves. I think this is, all of y'all's project. So if you want to go ahead and get started and talk about all the great things you want to talk about, that would be great.
So this morning, I actually went off and started looking at just everything that's happened in the past week. Just for trans health, in terms of the things that we've had, protections repealed. We've had, basically Title IX has been changed and repealed on the basis of single sex homeless shelters. So we've had a lot of issues with trans health. We've had 2 Black trans women that were killed in the last week. And so it really illustrates and underscores the need for this kind of work. And I just wanted to just take a minute to acknowledge that's really a real thing, because I think that a lot of people still aren't aware of the kind of issues that we have to deal with just on a daily basis in terms of getting our regular needs met, just in terms of normal healthcare things, in addition to any of the gender, wellness and transition-oriented things. Mostly, I just wanted to kind of open up a space for us to kind of talk about, what we do in transforming wellness, what we focus on and sort of who we focus on in terms of the education pieces, and then who we'd like to really reach out to and to connect with, so that we can kind of expand our offerings. Kyra, do you want to talk about kind of what we do with transforming wellness?
Sure. So we kind of have it broken up into 3 separate parts right now. The first part, which is the part that I mostly do, is the kind of Trans 101. We do lots of hand holding. We give definitions. We give, less offensive words to use when trying to communicate thoughts and ideas. And that's actually the part that I really, really enjoy and I'm really good at. I'm really great at just like holding space for the cis folks to just kind of like learn the basics of how to interact with trans people without being horrendously offensive, and like not asking if you've had the surgery when you first meet someone. That's one of the big points that we go on. And the second part is with working with traumatic neuroception in regards to polyvagal theory, which Kelly does a wonderful job of working with. If you would like to talk about that for a bit, because you word that a lot better than I do.
Yeah. So the first part of Transforming Wellness, we basically just do an overview of like trans issues and health and sort of, you know, basic social interaction things. And then we start talking about systemic trauma, which happens with marginalized populations. And we just do a brief overview of polyvagal theory, which talks about the nervous system and how the nervous system deals with trauma, and how we can, as providers and as practitioners, be aware of that model and be aware of the nervous system of our clients, and that we're dealing with a compromised nervous system, you know, and that you have to be considerate in your communications with people, not only in the trans populations, but anyone who has had to deal with ongoing systemic trauma. And then we also then seg into talking about, you know, specifically how to create spaces that are specifically focused towards safety and a sense of, you know, establishing trust, you know, and establishing a sense of being able, because once you enter into a space of healing, like, you have to be able to establish a deep sense of trust before any kind of movement or shift can happen. And Rocky specifically is focused on kind of talking about that, in addition to you know, his movement approaches and everything else.
Well, that's true, Kelly. I do that for us. I combine a couple of different things in my experience. Obviously, as someone who wants to be identified and talked to with pronouns that are he, him, and with masculine identifying language around my body, and all of the barriers that I have experienced in my personal life, I have to combine those pieces we talk about in systemic trauma. I have to combine my experiences around that and my experiences around patient care and community care when I bring all of that into my workout spaces or into my massage client spaces. And it has been a finely tuned art that I have developed over the course of my career that has made it almost the easiest thing I can do is to try to establish a bridge of trust with someone very quickly. And I learned those skills through a series of jobs and a series of positions that I've held in the community. I think a lot of us have those skills, so we thought it was important to, you know, try to make a workshop that not only talked about these issues, but also gave real solutions, real applications that we use, that I use every week, that these folks use every week, you know. So, I'm happy that y'all invited me into this space also, because I think when we first started talking about me coming on board, we were talking about also the overwhelming need for more people that look like me in the industry, in the space. And largely I entered into this because as I was entering my own healing, I noticed there wasn't a lot of that. And so I wanted to give us an opportunity to today, if we have time, as we push through, I want to talk more about the 3-hour-long training that we normally do. We have less time today, but I'd love to give everyone here an opportunity to experience something that I recently experienced in a workshop, which was kind of an opportunity to unpack some of your feelings around a topic, kind of at the top before we inundate you with any more information. I don't know what the makeup is here, but I just wanted to give you an opportunity. You don't have to participate. But I'm going to say 3 words, and you can write down any response you like, 1 word, 3 words, whatever, to these 3 words. And then I'm going to let you think about that for maybe a small second, breathe in a little bit, think about who's in the room with you. You probably have big questions, but let's focus on words. I'm going to say these words, write them down, think them, then unmute yourself. It's free for all for a couple seconds, and just say whatever words had come to mind in this, okay? So here are my 3 words to give you, okay? And then I'll give you my word association that I'm going to use. Word 1 is wellness. Word 2 is healthcare. And word 3 is healing. Word 1 is wellness. Word 2 is healthcare. And word 3 is healing. And thank you very much to the folks that invited me into the space yesterday to experience what this is like, to truly connect with people in a workshop and figure out what they need. So you're welcome now to unmute yourself. I'm gonna say that my word is not a word, it's actually a TikTok. If you've ever seen the TikToks that they have like trans people written on this piece of paper and they have healthcare on this piece of paper, and then instead of drawing a direct line, they draw like a and then they finally circle healthcare. That's my word. But you're welcome to share how you feel about those 3 words openly now.
Hey y'all, my name is Heather Frederick. I go by Frederick. My pronouns are they, them. I am Out Youth Texas GSA Network Coordinator. And the 3 words that I thought of, so for wellness, the first thing I thought of was tired. For healthcare, my first association was expensive. And for healing, my first thought was necessary. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Thank you. Please continue to share. Facilitators are very welcome to share as well. Kelly and Kyra, you're welcome to share.
So for wellness, my word was towels. I think that's more of just a massage therapist thing, like laundry never ends. For healthcare, my word was inaccessible, and healing, the first thing that came to mind was problems.
For me, for wellness, the first thing that came to mind was granola. And for healthcare, the first thing that came to mind was bureaucratic. And for healing, I think of like just a waterfall.
Thank you. Thank you. A few more seconds for everyone to join in if you feel the need. You don't have to. You can also utilize the chat feature.
All right, I got, for wellness, I got community. For healthcare, I got expensive. And for healing, I have wholeness.
That's lovely. I'm going to repeat back some things we've heard now before we move forward. Tired, expensive, necessary, inaccessible, problems, granola, bureaucratic, healing, community, wholeness, and of course, towels, which I interpret as work. And you feel free to continue to add to this conversation in the chat, to chime up now, just like we did there. You see it's possible to do that. And I also want to ask you as this final part, do you feel heard? Do you feel heard by like what other people are experiencing? Because I do. I feel like maybe we don't have as much work to do as we think we do. And that's really encouraging to me. So I wanted to have a moment for us to at least speak that out there so that you could know between us all, some of us are working on this side of it. Some people are experiencing it, but we're not alone in this. And we all hear the people and what they're asking for and what they need directly. So as we move into further needs and further why this is important, which I think we all agree on, Let's talk about the tools that we use to make people better in this space. Let's try to focus there, because I hear that. Especially tired and granola. Those two things really connected in my heart space. So thank you very much for that time. And let's keep going with the part you mentioned, Kelly. I like this facilitating. I like the agenda, the set for show right now. It's good.
Yeah. So we know when these things come up, especially for us as a community, like it's challenging. And then especially when we have, when we're dealing with this environment that we're dealing in, and we're having, these barriers placed in front of us in the midst of a pandemic. So even to like meet, it's really challenging to kind of reorient and say, okay, like where do we go from here, right? And for us, like when we work with wellness practitioners, people that are on a person-to-person basis, we start to build a family, right? We build a family and a community of people who understand like what our needs are on the basic level and can help advocate for us. If we are in a position where we are not able to advocate for ourselves for any reason, and that's the whole thing that I've really come to understand about wellness and about healthcare as a trans person, is that it takes a community of people to support me in getting my needs met. Like I can't just trust the system to support me, because the system is broken. And we have to really look to our community and expand our community to make sure that we're all on the same page about what our needs are. And to that end, then we start to talk with other organizations such as SAFE, to really try to collaborate with them and create a cohesive, education piece. And the problem with education is that it's sort of a stopgap. It's an in-between liminal space between real systemic change, which is what we need. So this is by no means, a silver bullet, but where we start is by building human connections and human relationships and building a community amongst ourselves, both where we are here in Austin and then in the wider realm of Texas, which is where we've experienced the worst discrimination as trans people in healthcare, and then beyond. So I'm just gonna like pop up and just like either one of you, Kyra, Rocky, if you just want to kind of popcorn off that, feel free to like share your thoughts.
You first, Kyra. You first.
English words are not working for me right now. Sorry.
Use any words. That's fine. We'll follow.
So to cause, continual systemic change, you have to introduce small little bite-sized pieces that people can understand and people can easily metabolize. So that's one of the things that we're doing with this training, is we're trying to provide people who wouldn't necessarily know about our experiences just moving through the world as trans people, to just kind of understand what it's like, the smallest amount, so that they can then use that to educate other people and to try and actually cause, systemic change. Because we can't change the system all at once in one night. Like it's a process. Okay, Rocky, your turn.
I completely agree with you. You brilliant mind, you. I love the way your brain works. It's, yes, there's a secrecy, there's a secret society of people-to-people connections that make sure that at every level we have somebody paying attention and trying to not only combat bad legislation and policy, but also push exceptionally important next steps, right? And I noticed that one of those barriers is not, I think some people think that people not being involved in these policies and coming to talk and testify and be part of the leadership is because they don't care, but I think it's actually that they don't know. And largely I think that's because there's a lot to, if you're especially new to organization, and how this city, this state, and this world, country, does healthcare, then when you try to, as just someone who's trying to get healthcare for yourself, go in and advocate for yourself, it is a nightmare. It is all over the place. No two pathways are the same. And that, as a clinician, I find highly, I find that really, really maddening, right? And for that reason, I brought a chart to draw for y'all today. Hi, welcome to the world of what I think is happening in Austin that makes people not be able to get, not just Austin, but the world, that makes people not be able to get the care that they need. Barrier addition, organizations, that's the subset, because organizations are all over the place on this. Here we are with healthcare. We're gonna call it TGNC for all the bits. Number one, major barriers. Some people don't even know they're in this category. What? How did we get there? No PSA programs, no sex ed that's comprehensive, no teachers that are allowed to be open and not be called bad people for trying to get this information out. No parent support. They got to kick their kids out or they get kicked out of their communities. No church support. They think that it's an abomination. They rule the big class up here in Texas. That's our Dan Patricks and our Greg Abbotts, right? Those are the folks up there that are making it exceptionally difficult for us to get any policy through. This is policy. Policy says, hey, we need houses. Hey, we need doctors. We need more doctors. What are we gonna do? We need more. What do we need more of, Kyra? Help me out here. We need more yoga. We need more yoga teachers per capita because we need healing immediately. We need healing immediately, right? And that happens through policy. But what do you do if everything's kerfuffled? Everything, all of it. We got none of this, nothing. Well, the organizations come in. Organizational skills. For some reason, some people think that's a bad word. Well, did you know that trans and non-binary people have been building organizations that have designed the very fabric of civil rights over the entire course of the entire world? Because I didn't. And the way they accomplished this was through needs assessment. You can't see the bottom, but it's needs assessments. Needs assessments. One of these days, somebody's going to give me a digital board of one of these. But anyway, needs assessments. Needs assessments happen by surveys. Surveys happen from healthcare professionals, right? And something called quality of life assessments. And guess who we have on that? Outyouth! But not directly, because Outyouth is an org. It's a person. It's a person. It's actually several people. And they're part of a committee structure that actually works under our true protective shield, which I call the Life Raft, also known as most of our urban centers. Our urban centers, specifically our capital, where is that? Where's our capital? The capital of Texas, where they have all the craziness. That's right here in good old-fashioned Austin, Texas. Per person, per capita, Austin provides the least leadership compared to any other Texas county currently under this distress. Why? Because Austin feels safe. Why? Because thank you, Outyouth. Thank you, Kind Clinic, Texas GSA. Thank you, we orgs, for making us feel safer and more up the hill of this victory than we are. If this is victory, and we never have to worry about being turned away for healthcare, we never have to worry about our marriages, our name changes, our housing, our discrimination, nothing. And this changes, and it doesn't just change there, it changes at the Texas level, at Austin's level, at the org level, at the leadership level, at the policy level, at what we're asking for, at what we're funding. The first step was obviously the protests, which had to do with a much larger public safety concern. But we are very much part of the policy building. What we're missing is the leadership in the orgs to bring faces and hearts and passion forward to the people that are otherwise listening, to people that want to create the barriers. if you have questions about that, this is not the place that you can learn about that. But I hope it was helpful in helping you understand that these barriers are not these things we can't control. These barriers are things we have to attack directly. And especially when we start seeing the press start popping. Let me fix my hair. Because the press popping means we've already gotten a little bit behind. Of course, we have lawyers, but we still need you. So I hope that helps understand why this is so much bigger than how to get somebody's pronouns right. It's just a part of it, right? It's a larger cultural change, cultural competency that's being pushed for. And that's what these two do so well. Why are they not in leadership? They are in leadership, but why are they not in the direct decision-making process from certain people who are putting these initiatives and most importantly funding forward for us to get our cultural competency where it needs to be? And the same is true for sex ed and things like that, y'all. It all kind of, they put it in one big thing that says these people are wrong, so we're not going to listen to them. That's not right. We're citizens, right? So I didn't realize all of this when I was 19 and told I couldn't start my transition. I'm 37 now. So why today? Why now? Why are we coming to talk to the GSA? Because I think that the people need to know that are working on this, that we think we have a really good workshop around this. And I think we have a couple of tips that we can share today that I'd like us to, but I wanted to do that because it's just been driving me mad, honestly. I can talk till I'm blue in the face about how to do it. But if the barriers of us getting that information do not get to the mountaintop, oh my goodness. It's not, that's why everybody feels so tired, so frustrated, you know? So anyway, that's all I had to add. I don't know if we even have time in the workshop left. Do we? Yeah, we're good.
We do.
Yeah, we're good. You did. Yeah, very good. It was very good. Yeah. So essentially, you know, what we're looking at is we look at working with individuals, and then we also look at working with organizations. You know, and a lot of organizations, you know, unfortunately, because of the size of them and the turnover that happens, sometimes they do get lapses in care and lapses in ability to like kind of have competency consistently. And so that's where we really come in, because you can, you know, you could do a lot of reading on the outside of things. You could do a lot of research. You could do a lot of trainings in order to become, you know, competent. But there's something about having a lived experience where you're just going to miss things that are just common sense things, just from the perspective of like not having lived that experience. So, I mean, we do start off kind of with the basics, like, you know, with your intake forms, make sure that you have a space for, you know, gender pronouns and gender identity. We do take time to talk about, you know, like, when is it appropriate to discuss, you know, surgeries or HRT, you know, and a lot of this work is really doing work that's already out there in terms of WPATH. So that's the World Transgender Health practitioners, basically, WPATH.org. They have competency trainings, but here's the thing is that people are not necessarily actively seeking them out. So there are organizations, there is an organization that kind of puts this all together in a way, but we're really making it accessible because we're doing it on a person-to-person basis, and then we're doing it, you know, within the organizations that we are making connections with that wouldn't otherwise ordinarily make those connections. Kyra, you want to talk a little bit more about like what we offer in terms of some tips and things?
Yes. One of the I apologize. English is not my first language, and my brain is not wanting to switch into English today. One of the biggest things that I like to, you know, ask are the people taking our workshop, specifically in yoga land. So I like to call it like people are doing like verbal-based cues and things like that, is how to sit down and use and think about some of the cues that they use and think about how to de-gender them. Like, for instance, one thing that a lot of people do is like yoga blocks, you know, pull it to your bust or pull it to your bra line is one cue that I've seen a lot which, you know, isn't the most, you know, gender accessible or, you know, trans informed thing to say, because, you know, you will have probably trans guys in your class, and just saying those words can make them think about the body parts that they don't necessarily like the most, and it can it can send people on like whole dysphoria spirals in the middle of a class whenever you're trying to create like a nice healing space, and someone's like in this giant internal turmoil spiral. So like just dismantling those things, and to just get people to start thinking about how to use their words in a very trauma-informed way. That's like the big one I can think of right now. Can you refresh my memory, Kelly, on some of the other ones that we do?
Yeah. We also just really, you know, talk about, you know, the practice as a whole. So from the beginning of like the intake all the way through the process of working with the client, if they're working with specific, like, where are they at their point with gender transition? What is their experience with their, you know, with their particular needs? And really just addressing, you know, the client as an individual rather than a monolith is really, like, at the end of the day, that's what we're teaching people, you know, and to do that in a way that cues to the trans and gender nonconforming population that you have done the work to be informed on a basic level about like what our needs really are.
Yeah, like for touch-based practitioners like acupuncturists, massage therapists, things like that, like we do actually go over the HRT and the physiological changes that can happen, and like what is actually important for massage therapists to know about that, and what just isn't important at all, that, you know, is just the cis people being like, oh, what's that? I want to know, whenever you shouldn't be like implanting that emotional labor on the client you're trying to serve. Like for instance, estrogen, if your levels are too high, you can get an increase in risk of blood clots. And that's something that a massage therapist needs to know, because, you know, you're moving around a lot of blood. And just learning how to ask those kinds of questions. Like, instead of being like, oh, are you on HRT? Like, I'm trying to think of an offensive way to ask that, and my brain isn't letting me. But yeah, just asking things like that and be like, okay, cool, you're on estrogen. Are your levels within normal? Awesome. And just leaving it at that. Like, you don't need to know like what someone's estradiol serum level is. It's not relevant to your practice.
Yeah, I agree. I remember that we had a top 10 list that me and Cable were offering, and it was number one was housekeeping stuff. So like, for now, the new virtual world, people can turn off their cameras. They don't have to be seen by their provider to do yoga or work out anymore. And I think that's helping people to engage more with wellness practice. So giving people the option to not have to be seen, or if they're in class, letting them sit in the back of the class or in a separate space and still work and be a part of the group if they need, or offer, you know, solo offerings for people that are struggling. And when I work with, I'm with a gym that teaches HAZE, which is health at every size informed stuff. So when you brought up the part about language around body parts, you know, also we talked about terms like squeeze or tighten or get your beach body or things like that, that we've already noted there's a lot of body confidence concerns in our community that we have to address when we're talking about, you know, these idealistic, colonial ideas of body image, you know, that we think are appropriate, when in fact we have different body styles and everybody is different, and every result is different. We also talked about check-ins, whether or not to provide hands-on assists. My gym requires that we do that every time. That autonomy movement, it's part of the training that you ask every single time, not just once at the top of the class. So because some people may be in certain positions that feel more vulnerable for that. It's a hands-on assist, so I use my words a lot as well. I put in the part about leading with my heart, and that has to do with the part about that Kelly mentioned about experience. Coming from a certain lived experience, something feels like it's more appropriate to do for your community. It's probably a gut feeling that you can go with, I think. So I lead a lot of times with that. The other thing is I always lead with modifications. and I give lots of modifications, bolsters, plan for all body types to take the class ahead of time instead of offering only modifications to bodies I think visually might be experiencing some difficulty. I require water breaks, and I require a new idea of what it means to work your body out. A lot of people say you have to really overwork the body, but I think a lot of other different modalities would encourage lots of rest and equality between the, strength-based training or other things, a lot of balance in your approach. So I teach that as well. The forms, how people sign into things. As we see things move to an online thing, we're starting to see the lack of options for, there's only giving a binary option for how to give gender information. I'm seeing new forms all the time pop up, but not everyone's applied that. The education piece, people are not staying up to date. They think once they've gotten the training, they're one and done. They don't have to keep up with it. Continuing education is a part of being a good provider, and I think that should be required in most cases if you say that you're a trans-informed and trauma-informed care. Honesty, admitting that you need to learn more, not trying to get that from your clients. We talked about that. And the last part is admitting what you don't know and being okay with being uncomfortable in this, and letting the community grow to trust you. So these are some of the things that Cable and I also came up with, which is another facilitator that we work with to get this information out. So I wanted to just give you all, that's the only things I had on our list.
Yeah, I think that gives a pretty full picture of what we offer with Transforming Wellness and kind of where we're going in the future. So I would love to open it up to questions. We work really well in an expansive discussion format. So.
What's on your mind?
Just in terms of any reflections you might have on what we've shared, or just thoughts, it doesn't necessarily have to be a well-formed question.
I'm kind of wondering how these trainings are going, because I think we have something in the chat. It's so mind-blowing. I can't imagine as a femme presenting person going to the doctor's office or gym or spa and not being manned. Yeah. Oh, so true.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we talk about a lot, is just removing the unnecessary gendering from just normal language. Because Kelly and I were in conversation with a local wellness organization to have a rendition of Transforming Wellness there. And I'm femme identifying, but I know that I don't pass. And there's setting passing culture aside, the provider or the person who owned the company kept saying, "you guys," when referring to me and Kelly. And this is, a trauma-informed business. And was doing things like that. And, actually about halfway through, I was like, "Hey, can you not say that? That's gendered and makes me feel gross." But even then, even people operating within trauma-informed models aren't necessarily understanding that, yes, you need to change your language for trauma-informed work, but you also need to change your language for trans-informed work too, in a entirely different way. One of my favorite things to say, yeah, y'all, perfect. I was actually gonna say one of my favorite things to say is y'all, or instead of the yes sir, yes ma'am, aye captain. It usually makes people chuckle a little bit, which is always good because it tones the vagus nerve. That's lovely. Yeah, so just I want to have a society where people can go into doctors' offices and not have to feel as ridiculously uncomfortable as we do now.
Well, beyond adjusting language, right? It's adjusting the mindset that when you look at someone that's femme presenting, you don't automatically think she, you don't know that. And so really hitting that home with the people that we work with is you have to change your mindset about gender. It's not just about your language.
Yeah. And one of the things that I like to say a lot is that you can't tell that someone's trans. We don't have a specific look. There are memes and stuff about it, how all trans people have septum piercings, but that's not true. None of us do.
A septum piercing?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I don't have. No. I have the quintessential lip and tongue piercing though, so I don't know if I'm walking away unscathed on that burn. Let's see. I see that we have. Let's see. I also think that the world is specifically lacking in trans-inclusive and trauma-informed reproductive care as well.
Yes.
That is so true. Right now, I'm sitting in that really odd chasm between like how am I gonna get like anything removed and when, it's that I have no answers. I think I have the answer of which doctor everyone else is going to, right? But I tried to sign up for Kind Clinic, and they have a super backed up waiting list specifically because of COVID for their telehealth, and I'm just like, oh, you shouldn't be allowed to just. That's the only place I can go. I don't know, but no, I'm just like I gotta figure this out. I think I'm gonna need some insurances, there's all kinds of things, and I wish there was just some kind of I don't even know what we need. Maybe some kind of call-in, not line, like a case management system. I think that they have that through that transgender wellness. Transgender wellness program, right? And it's really good, but then you have to still get into Kind Clinic to start the process of all your stuff. And reproductive health apparently is so awkward. Is that has anybody had to I'm not sure if y'all want to talk about it, but I'm just I've avoided it like the plague personally.
I don't do reproductive health stuff for a few reasons. So I have nothing to speak to on that experience at all.
Okay, so I'm just gonna go in. My bottom dysphoria is intermittent, so I can deal with the reproductive health and have been the trans person to be like, so I have a vagina, and have to really, I've gone to spaces that have been touted to be, trans informed and everything else. And I have made the mistake of trying to get a pelvic exam at a place that was not vetted by my community. And I just want to say, don't do that.
Don't do that. Do not do it. Don't do it. We have to have talks. We were talking about who we want to talk to. I would like to speak with the director of whoever's involved in some of these procedures, so we can discuss a couple things. I've asked for many, if they can give me nitrous to get my teeth cleaned, then I'm gonna need somebody with some authority to start working this out, because it is frightening. And I guess I've heard that Planned Parenthood, it's one of the locations anyway. A lot of people are saying, oh, as far as for trans men, that's an okay place to go, and they'll be fairly competent in the intake, and you won't get misgendered at the out. People don't know why you're at Planned Parenthood, but if you're in an OBG, not OBGYN, well, I guess, but if you're in one of those offices and there's primarily feminine presenting people around, I've heard the horror stories of how people are just I don't even want to stand up and go back there, because then people will just stare at me as I walk the walk of shame into this office. That is my nightmare. These are nightmare fuel. And so I've been trying to crack the code from an organizational piece on how we could maybe provide some sort of support and connection at that place, and not only there, but also at the place just after, surgical intervention and other care, where people need about, sometimes up to 6 weeks of, or at least a few weeks of direct care, and how we're training people to do that. We're really not, and the concerns around that, there's a huge community care piece that a lot of people are alluding to, talking about getting funded. But it's my hypothesis that if we use trans people that have been through these things to help people that are going through these things kind of work through through some of the care aspects of this and we train them, we might actually be onto something for a direct care network that fills in the gaps that we're missing with things like waiting for your kind clinic appointment or whatever, it's all the in-between stuff, but.
You know what else would be a good thing?
What?
Having trans people in those roles.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Having trans people doing the job, like we basically say, hi, like it's prerequisite for this job that you may or may not have had some form of gender affirming care or something, that you know how to care for this stuff, because we're going to put you through a community training program that teaches you how to care for top surgery scars and help people. Like my wife had to do that. I had to build a team around myself when I know full well that there's recovery locations in this city even that people go to after they have hip replacement surgery. Mm-hmm. So the fact that, and also I've heard troubling stories of people being like having to go to the hospital after surgery. And so going from a safe place, like the most popular place in the world to get gender affirming surgeries is in our city, right? One of them. And they have to go because they have a bleed or something. They get pop a stitch, right? And the doctor's like, I'm not feeling good about the surgeon's feeling, I'm not feeling good about this. Let's run you to the hospital, make sure they can check it out for us, watch you for a while, let your stats come up. Okay, they get in the ambulance. They drive 5 minutes to the hospital next door, and they get misgendered. Coming from surgery in the hospital to be watched and monitored, and we can't even keep competency for that period of time, right? So I am deeply concerned about like the net, like the unfilled in pieces of all of these equations, of course. But I think we have started to shift into a new narrative, which is how can we help each other? And that's what I really love.
Yes, Rocky, and having trans people working those jobs specifically would be great.
Working the jobs of which?
Like working the jobs as doctors and nurses and EMTs and things like that. Like that, in my mind, is the ideal situation, because you can teach competency all you want, but if they don't have the lived experience, they're not going to understand. It's like trying to teach, and I hate using this illusion, but my mind has been on a lot of anti-racism work right now. It's like trying to teach, an upper middle class white lady about like nuanced forms of racism. Like you can teach all you want, but it's gonna fall on deaf ears after a certain point.
Yeah, there's only so much time we have to teach all the people we need to get this done, and we don't have time to teach people that are going to be difficult to train. I think that's probably where we're at right now. I have been hearing little birdies have told me that we do have lots of people in these helper jobs that are working every day from within their systems, right, within their departments, within their hospitals, to create a better response. And I will say, honorable mention, St. David's South. I will just say that. Honorable mention. And a secondary honorable mention that I haven't personally experienced or watched is Dell Children's, or Dell Medical. And specifically the work that I'm seeing come out of Dr. Manj's office. And I think they're single-handedly helping us with a lot of main problems that we're talking about in direct care stuff, but I just don't know how to connect the pieces, and that's what I loved about this queering education thing is, maybe the opportunity that people will hear this, they will hear about this workshop, they will come and talk to us, they will give us those pieces that let us know, oh, this is where we need to be inserting this information. And I know that we have a lot of people doing 101, but I think we're talking about also this expansion of 101 that I feel so excited by. Mm-hmm. We were talking about adding who are we partnering with on the racial justice piece on the next one? It's
Scout. Yeah.
Scout,
So Scout is a doula and a birth worker as well, and so I'm really curious to pick her brain about the reproductive aspects too, and so like that's the thing, is like we're building this like person to person, and again, like you have a relationship with that doctor at Dell, you know what I mean, and that is how that's happened. It's like we're forming these relationships, and that's kind of how we're growing that way. But I think that it really has to come again to an organizational level, Because when Kyra was talking about like trans folks being doctors and all the things, there are we know why they're not trans doctors and surgeons. Like we know why that's not the case. It's because of access to med school and finances, and because we're at a place financially as a marginalized population where that just does not happen. So it's a systemic change that needs to occur, obviously.
Yeah, that story that I told y'all about going to massage school before I started growing the beard, right? And before, like, I couldn't walk in there being like, I need to go use the men's restroom, because they were just like, well, it's not on your ID. It's not, like, people are going to look at you walking in there and they're going to be freaked out. And no one stood up for me, right? And it's little things like that, like people not standing up for you, that have been the kind of the worst barriers, for folks trying to do the right thing and get where they need to get. I see another thing. It says, for folks who need abortion care, they need transportation assistance. Yeah, okay, the Bridge Collective is trauma and trans-informed and wonderful. There we go. There
Awesome.
we go.
Thank you.
This is why we do this. This is why we do this. I have no idea who that is, but thank you very much, because that sounds perfect. I love the name too, right? Isn't that just juicy? The Bridge Collective.
I like it.
But yeah, I mean, I wish I knew about all this stuff. It's like they always like, I wish I knew then what I know now, right? Like if 19-year-old me knew what I know now, I would have been unstoppable. We'd have nothing but trans doctors. If I was inventing the world, but nobody asked me.
Well, I mean, we kind of are. That's kind of why you're here right now, Rocky.
Oh, good. That's great. Education. That's what if the world was perfect, then we would all be professors, right? Like if we were imagining the world with more queered education, we would all be professors. We would have like the rich people houses, like with like infinity pools, and this is how
Rocky.
I think that professors live. This is probably wrong.
Rocky, how about just a house in general? That'd be
a
nice.
house in general.
Yeah.
I would like a house, and I would like regular, consistent healthcare, please. I would like those two things.
Basic human rights. I'd like not to be called names to my face that have to do with my skin color. That would be my ideal existence. I think it's. I've been thinking about what models seem to work, and y'all know that like informed consent models. We were talking about that. Informed consent models are all the rage. And now, do y'all know about this Get Plume situation? Should we talk about Get Plume or Plume? And okay, so it's apparently a trans created company of people who made it $100 a month kind of subscription service. I don't know anything about it, and but it's been popping up on my feed lately, right? And people are like, it's so easy because, and I haven't checked it with any of this, but the reason why I'm bringing it up for topic is things like this pop up all the time for us as a community, right? There's that app that's called, it's like the trans resource app. I'll have to link it later. I can't remember. And then there's a lot of random apps popping up, and I wonder about how we could even confirm that these are legitimate sources, right? Like how do trans people, if they aren't sure about, like in places where it's not as well publicized like it is here, is this doctor safe for me? Aside from WPATH, how are people able to go, is this app safe for me? Is this, group safe for me? Are these, like there's no real, I can think of no real resource for that either.
It's all word of mouth from what I know. Like I made my account with the Kind Clinic a year before I even called to make my first appointment. And it actually took Kelly, yelling at me essentially for like 4 months, being like, hey, just go talk to them. It's fine. It's fine. Just because I was just like, are they actually trans? Like, are they okay with trans people? Like what, I can't trust anything. And I was gaslighting myself on that so hardcore.
Yeah. I just signed up today, if I'm admitting, and that's because I know that they cover HRT costs, or at least help you get, some of the overall. I've been paying out of pocket for this entire 3.5 years, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that I just don't want to deal with the insurance companies telling me no, which I just don't see it as a reasonable way for me to go through life. So I've just kind of fundraised always, of course, and just worked and saved my money. And then I went into Plano, and they have all this, you know, it's not even that hard anymore. There's like the Gallup project where you can get your letters. Like there's ways for people to do it without all the insurance stuff. But then you get to the more expensive stuff, and I'm like, uh-oh. I guess I should have gone to Kind Clinic all along, because I know that they help with the big stuff, you know, like especially the big stuff. So
Yeah.
my mistake.
It's all good. You don't know until you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things I like about the Kind Clinic is they are kind of like a one-stop shop for a lot of things. Is they can provide you with your letters for your name change and your gender marker change. They can provide you with regular hormone panels for free, which is like mind-boggling for lots of folks.
Yeah.
Free STI tests, free treatment for a few of the STIs and things like that. And if not, they'll connect you with organizations that can help you get funding for things, which is just fantastic. And I know that we are like truly privileged to have access to them here in town.
We really are, and I was happy to see that pop up as, you know, part of a larger, you know, leadership effort. And I have heard some people that say, oh, you know, they didn't quite, you know, they didn't know what they were talking about with my dosages and that kind of stuff. And I, you know, I really respect that, because I think, you know, even if somebody gave you the wrong medicine in a hospital, you should have a ability to complain or file some sort of concern about the way that your treatment was there, so we can get better, right? But all in all, it does appear that they have single-handedly and continue to still keep our community very, very safe from what's happening around us, and keeping the trains running on time. So and there's other people rising to the occasion as well. I actually didn't know there were so many. There were so many people kind of working on trans wellness, specific, like, you know, transgender, solving the issue of getting coverage. And I guess the problem mainly is our pronoun stuff, right? Like getting approved for a hysterectomy if it says male on your documents. And sometimes I think the order of things, I'm like, if I would have done this differently, would that have mattered? And I'm like, no, the barriers would have still existed. Some people get really bogged down in the details of how to do their stuff. And I love, like you said, Kyra, that Kind Clinic pulled it all together in one, like how to be, you know, like how it's the starter 101, like the true trans 101, like how to, you know, move into this life if this is what you want information about, you know?
I would like to add the qualifier of if you want to medically transition, because as you know, not all trans people want to medically transition, and that's totally okay and totally valid, and that is a wonderful experience if that's what feels right for you.
Yeah, and I like to tell people that I transitioned 34. So a lot of people are worried about.
We lost you, Rocky. You're on mute.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh no. Getting a massage therapist to use tech is always risky.
Well, we wait for Rocky to. There we go.
Got a Rocky back.
No, can't hear you. Okay.
Oh, okay. Bye.
I think he's gonna come back.
Yeah.
This is a good place to just pause and check in time-wise, and then see if anybody else has any like lingering questions, thoughts, reflections.
Because this was for an hour, correct? Or am I misremembering? Okay. So we are about at time.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if not, we'll just so our next training is on July 8th at 2 p.m. and we're doing it in conjunction with Autonomy Movement, which is who Rocky works with.
Yeah. And they're actually a fantastic place. I went and worked. I did postural assessments for a trans wellness event there a few months ago before the shelter in place was ordered. And like there aren't mirrors in the restroom. You don't, like, weight and body shapes isn't really a thing that's talked about. And that's something that I really appreciated, because there is like a certain eating disorders are very common in the trans community. I'm not saying that to say that all trans people have eating disorders, but a lot of us do. And going into a place like that is trauma informed and trans informed and like doesn't put those situations right in front of us. And like all the restrooms were gender neutral as well, which was also really cool.
Yeah, that's why I chose to work there, because it's not just mirrorless in the bathrooms, it's mirrorless in the space, with the exception of my wife's room, which is a salon space, and one other room in the space. And that's because we want people to get into their bodies in their workouts. We've also moved to a completely virtual model to account for social distancing. We know, and we're keeping that model. I teach every week on Wednesdays in the afternoon, and people can get info on that at autonomymovement.com. And we'll put that in the info after we share all this out with y'all. But yeah, I love teaching there, and I specifically love it because I've never worked out in a place where I could shower and use the restroom without having to like be in like a weird locker room situation, which I've always not liked, like as an athlete and everything. So now I got like my own special clubhouse to work out in, and it's awesome. So yeah, thank you for that shining. What do they call it? Now my words won't work. Nice thing you said. Thank you for the shiny
Compliment.
nice thing. Compliment. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Go ahead.
I was saying my brain was stuck in ASL mode, not in English mode, and I was just like, do not speak like Yoda.
Speak like Yoda, do not. So I just put the link to our website in the chat there, and our next training again is July 8th at 2 p.m. And you can sign up to our mailing list on the website to just keep up with what we're doing, and to get involved if you like. We're always open to folks joining on to the cause and supporting us. So yeah, feel free to reach out if you are excited and feel passionate about this work and you want to get involved. We would love that.
Yes. Thank y'all very much. If you want to work out with me or any of these folks this week or this month or this year, y'all should message us too, because I know Kyra's doing like some yoga stuff, right, Kyra?
Yeah, I'm doing my practicums for yoga school.
Yeah, let's do it. You got like, people have to help with the practicums. Like our own community should be signing up for this stuff, because we can't become trainers if we don't have people taking these dang free classes. It's just not possible. So like, grab your
Also,
friends.
big emphasis on free right here. If I was on YouTube, I would YouTube magic edit the word free right here.
We have nothing but free class. All you have to do is contact Transforming Wellness, and we will give you a list of all the free ways you can just get free workouts.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay, cool. Is there any other questions that anybody had? Did we miss anything? Did I miss anything?
No, you didn't miss anything. Any burning desires? Questions? You talk about?
I think we're good. I think I got to be on the news tonight, so I'm going to go prep for that. Congrats on the SCOTUS ruling, everybody. We did it.
Yes.
Yay.
Stay ready. Let's go. Let's get them.
We can't be fired, but we can't go to the doctor.
No, right. Like, okay, I'll be on the news to be like, save us.
You can work, but don't get hurt.
Truth. Okay, well, thank y'all very much for having us, I guess. We'll let y'all end the recording and go on to your next people. Is that right? Is it supposed to end at 1 and we're overtime? That's my bad.
Yeah, you were supposed to end at 1, but it's all good. It's a workshop. Very glad you were able to be here. Yay.
Hey, thank you very, very much for having us, and take
Yeah,
care.
having us.
Thank you so much. Bye.